Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with another Last of Us Season 2 reaction. This one for Chapter 3. Episode 3, I guess you could say. Make more sense than Chapter 3, it ain't a book. But yeah. Ellie has spent her time in the hospital, recovering. And you can tell she is traumatized. Because she wakes up and she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs. They have to put her back under. Finally, she is let out of the hospital. And she has to see the therapist lady before she can go. And she gives the impression that, hey, I'm okay, everything's fine, you know. But you can tell she's not. After getting out of the hospital, she goes back to Joel's. To his place and goes inside looking around. Just looking at everything. She finds a box on his bed. In it, they have the watch he wore the night he carried Sarah out when everything went down. It looks like some kind of denim fabric, so I'm going to say some kind of jeans. And under all that is his handgun. Ellie takes the handgun. She looks around a little more and sees his closet, and hanging in it is the jacket he wore so much. And she has a hold of the, goes to it, holds onto the fabric, and she starts crying. You know, the tears just streaming down her face, and she goes in to hold the jacket, at least one side of it. Yeah. It, you know, you can already tell it's the first true bit of realization. First true moment she's had to really react. Because, yeah, like I said, I don't think she was being truthful with the therapist lady. see it. I think it's Dina who interrupts. And her and Ellie talk a bit. They go to Tommy and talk about a potential plan to go after those who killed Joe. And they said it will be brought up in an upcoming meeting. Before that, though, let's skip back a little bit. They have a moment where, this is early on in the episode, they have a moment where you know it's Joe under the cover. His feet with the boots on are sticking out. And he's wearing the watch that he wore when Sarah was shot that night when everything went down. The same watch. Ellie kind of bypasses over. She looks at it for a moment when she looks to that box, but yeah. Tommy walks in and continues the job where they're kind of like cleaning the body and everything. Takes over for the woman who was there. And Tommy tells Joe's corpse, he says, say hello to Sarah for me. And just continues washing the body. But anyway, we jump back to Ellie and Dina. They talk to Tommy. Tommy says there's going to be a presentation at the next meeting, whether to do something or not. He says, wait till then. But no, you have my backing. And then Jesse, the boyfriend, Dina's boyfriend, former boyfriend, on and off, he tells them when it's Jesse, or when it's just, I think it's just Ellie. But he tells her, says, look, I'm on the council. I can't tell you how votes will go. But he suggests that she takes a moment, try to collect her thoughts and write everything down, which Ellie ends up doing and giving a presentation when they have the actual meeting of reading out what she wrote. But the surprise, I think, most of all, is the guy from the first episode that kind of has the homophobic rant. You know, we can't have two, you know, here at this dance, la 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 la. And Joe comes in and punches him. He's the one that's angry. He's like, because everyone's like, look, we need to heal, you know, da, da, da. And the guy's like, all I see are cowards. We know who they are. We know, where they are. Seattle. We should go after them. Because goodness knows they could come back for any of us. And yeah. But the sad part is the vote comes back 8-3. 8 saying there's no payback, no vengeance. 3 saying yes, send people to find them. So yeah. Well, after the meeting, Ellie's already planning how she's going to do things on her own. She's got all these guns laid out and ammo, and Dina, after saying, "I'm alone, yes, it's me," comes in after Ellie opens the door and says, "We got a plan of attack. Do you know which route you're going to go?" And Ellie goes, "Northwest." "Do you have any supplies? Any medical supplies? Anything like that? When you cure an ankle walking your northwest route." Just kind of showing that, yeah, Ellie needs more. And so Dina kind of hammers out the logistics, says, "Look, we need this and this and this." Now, yeah, it's getting interesting. But says, "Listen, we'll go 3 in the morning, both of us." But before we get to that scene, we get an advance scene showing some people trying to walk home, or not home, but find a new place to live. And they're using whistles to communicate instead of yells or talk. Even though they can talk to each other. And so you have a bunch of civilians walking, and there's one guy way back just keeping an eye on everything and giving them follow up in the rear just to make sure nobody else is coming. But after a little while, clearly trouble has come, because he gives the warning whistle. And they're like, "Everybody, scatter, hide." And so they're hiding in the brush, or trying to at least. But we go back to Ellie, Dina. Ellie's standing outside in the dark because, of course, it's 3 a.m. They're waiting to get their stuff done. And here comes Dina with the horse Shimmer, and they're getting ready to head off. Dina stops with Shimmer, and around the other side walks the old man. Again, the guy from the first episode who had said those things and then was angry at the town meeting. He's like, trade. Because he has this rifle with a scope on his back, which Ellie has already got a long rifle with scope, and he's like, trade, it's better. And he hands her the rifle, and they trade out the rifles, so she's carrying the rifle he had. But yeah, apparently he had helped free the horse from the stables. But Ellie and Dina get up on top of the horse and they're getting ready to leave. He opens the gate for them. He's like, look, you know, just do what you can, you know. So yeah, anyway, they leave out the gate and he closes the door behind them. But yeah. As Dina and Ellie are heading out, they reach an area where Tommy had told them they had buried Joe along with other members of the town. And it's early light. The sun's still kind of rising. Ellie's standing in the graveyard looking at Joe's grave, and Dina's still on top of the horse. Ellie takes this little sack she has and pours on the ground, you know, a handful of coffee beans, because Joe likes the coffee so much, talking about how it was worth it to trade to get fresh coffee. So as kind of an offering and a way to say goodbye, she puts these coffee beans on the ground. Smiles and goes back to the horse, and her and Dina start making their path to Seattle. And you can see them making stops here and there. They show like a little montage. But yeah, they have a moment where they're in a tent at night and they're talking. And Dina mentions she already took Jesse back, but it's like she's still curious, apparently, because you can tell she actually does have feelings for Ellie, but she don't openly come out and say, yeah, that's who I am. But before they end the scene, they were talking about, she had asked Ellie, how was I as a kisser? Ellie says, you were a 6. And Dina acts a little offended, but then she smiles. But they're getting ready to go to sleep, and I can't remember exactly what Dina says, but she's like, oh yeah, You know I wasn't that high, don't you? Talking about that night, so. Meaning it was more than just her being under the influence. So, yeah. Um, but they're making their way and they come across a body on the trail. He's been gunned down. You can see the gun hose in his back. And he's one of those people who were earlier trying to make their way out. And they go a little further off the side of the trail in the woods, and yeah, Dina first goes out and looks at it. She comes back, you know, throwing up because the smell and everything, and all the bodies are dead. Ellie goes in and looks around, and yeah, men, women, children, just all dead. Ellie goes back to the trail. They get back together on the horse and head on up, and they stop at this place where they can look over and see the city of what was Seattle, with all the moss and everything overgrown. And then we get a look, to finish out the episode, we get a look at the WLF, which is where Abby and the others are, or it's already been established they are. And when Dina and Ellie first leave, they're thinking it's just going to be a small group, because they talk about the WLF being one group of many that couldn't seem to get it together to help fight Fedra. But they try to make it clear at the end of the episode that they're bigger than what we think. But yeah. You see tanks, vehicles, and then multiple people marching along. So yeah, that's pretty much the episode. It it will overall it's pretty good. We're getting into the actual story a bit now. We've got over, you know, the introductory bit, you know, what's happened since and everything from the first episode. And of course, the death of Joe last episode. This episode, Ellie mourns a bit. Then she's determined now to find revenge for Joel. But yeah. But that's the end of it. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, Later.